Ernst, two great wrestling people, one of our teammates from the University of Pennsylvania, Don Ernst, our longtime coach, both battling cancer. We pray for them as well as everyone in the wrestling community who's struggling spirit, mind, and body. So please remember them in your prayers. We also want to remind you that leaders are readers. Make sure you get the books of all the presenters that are on board, Wrestling Mindset, Build the Predator Mindset, and a lot of great information you're going to see from all of our presenters. And also make sure you donate to Beat the Streets. We want to make sure we help them out as much as we can. That's what it's all about. The wrestling community coming together during tough times and good times and bad and bring you the best we possibly can. No further ado, we bring to you the great Joe Galli on Breakthrough Leadership, the CEO and Executive Director of Milwaukee and Tektronix. Joe, thank you very much for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you. And I appreciate the glowing intro, but the products that we sell and the people that we have are what makes our company great. I just get to be the spokesman, and it's my pleasure. So look, TTI Milwaukee is a company that has gone from, in the 15 years I've been here, from $1.5 billion in sales to 10 billion, on our way to 20 billion, on our way to 40 billion. We are annihilating our competitors. We take no mercy. We're fiercely competitive in the marketplace. And I promised I would share some of the things that we do to run this company. We have an overarching cultural theme in the company called Breakthrough Leadership. And I think there might be some elements of this that might be applicable to coaches, wrestlers, and you might just enjoy this as students of leadership. Let me also say that we are massively committed to the sport of wrestling. I was figuring this out last night. I think we have 6 Olympians that work for us. We have 10 national champions and 32 Division I wrestlers. We've sponsored all sorts of tournaments, and we care deeply about our commitment to wrestling. We feel like we've been a beneficiary of our support because the people, the kids we hire, the people we hire that are ex-wrestlers, 9 times out of 10 turn out to be superstars. That gritty work ethic, that ability to solve problems and handle tough times is a hallmark of a great wrestler. So anyhow, it's my pleasure to be a part of anything that will help the sport of wrestling. And I'm also incredibly thrilled that the Stanford University decided to reinstate wrestling. I felt that was a battle worth fighting for, and I was part of a team that spent a lot of time and effort on it. And I'm very proud of Stanford for agreeing to put it back along with 10 other sports. I think it's great. And so to see the great Rob Cole make a decision to move across the country after 27 years at Cornell and take over Stanford is we've taken a program that was eliminated, and now it's on its way to being a national power. And I would never underestimate Rob Cole. I never have. Okay, so let's talk about some interesting quotes that I love and I love to share. Okay, so this is one of my favorite. A crisis does not build character. A crisis reveals it. If you watch NCAA's last year, you saw the top storyline, other than Penn State winning all these national championships, was the great Shane Griffin going from a program that was eliminated with nowhere to practice, and this kid goes out and wins the national tournament and is OW. And people say a crisis. It builds character. That's not true. A crisis reveals character. A crisis reveals a lot of things. People that flourish in a crisis have been wired that way from the start. But we've been all through. This pandemic has been a massive crisis for the sport of wrestling. When the Ivy Leagues aren't even allowed to go to nationals, that is for those poor kids that wrestle in those Ivy League schools, it's hard to believe. Like the UPenn team, right? So anyhow, but you can either get depressed about it, or you can do something about it and make yourself better, so that when you're allowed to compete, you go out and show what you've got. I love this one. Fate whispers to the warrior, "You cannot withstand the storm," and the warrior whispers back, "But I am the storm." This is Kyle Dake personified. I am the storm. It's a great mindset, right? Napoleon always said, "The side that stays within its fortifications is beaten." Attack, attack, attack. And for me, why win in overtime 3-2 if you can go out, take the guy down and pin him? The aggressive wrestler is the most fun to watch. And, I think it's a philosophy that works in wrestling, in war, and in business. And that's certainly what we do in our company. I love this Bruce Lee thought. So Bruce Lee says, when you find yourself in a room surrounded by enemies, you should tell yourself, I am not locked in here with you. You are locked in here with me. And this, don't be a victim. Don't be a victim, right? And when I see people tell me they can't make their results in a company because the economy's bad, or housing starts are off, or there's a storm, or there's a tariff, or a virus, I just say, let me get you a shirt and put a V on it, because you're like a leaf in the stream. You're a victim. Take charge of your position. If Spencer Lee can win the Nationals without any ACLs in his knees, certainly, we can all develop this mindset that being a victim is for other people. Lincoln always said the best way to predict the future is to create it. People ask me every day, what do you think about the future? With the pandemic, is the economy going to be good or bad? What about housing? What do you think is going to happen over in Asia, Europe? And, I have no idea. I didn't learn how to predict the future in college. Well, I can tell you this, though. If I create the future, then I can predict it. And we as a company, and our mindset is, we don't make excuses. We don't worry about what it says in the Wall Street Journal about the economy. Well, all we do is we hire the best people we can find. We develop innovative, breakthrough, technologically advanced, vastly superior products, and we control our destiny in good times and bad. And we saw a lot of that in the wrestling community last year, for sure, through this virus. Okay, so a couple of highlights of our company before I shift into the leadership training that we do. As I said, we've gone from a company that did a little over $1 billion. Last year, we did about 10 billion. We're on our way to 20 billion. We'll be there within 4 years. And then, once you get to 20 billion, it's a lot easier to go from 20 billion to 40 billion than it is to go from 1 to 10 and from 10 to 20. So we have bold plans for our company. And I've never felt more confident in our team, in our ability to achieve those goals. And we also, more importantly, we've been able to take our gross margin. We were a laughing stock in terms of gross margin in 2008, with the gross margin down at almost 30%. And we've improved it 50 basis points a year for 12 consecutive years. This is unheard of in business. There's not another company in the Fortune 500, whether it's in Silicon Valley or anywhere in the world, that's achieved this kind of gross margin improvement. And we plan to do this another 5 years minimum, because of the momentum we have. And what that's allowed us to do is make our shareholders very happy and very rich, because we started off, our stock price was $1.55, and a couple of weeks ago we hit 150. So if we do it right, we'll double that every 3 years, maybe every 2 years, the way we're going now. So we're very, very bullish about the strategies we have in place to build this company. Okay, so just what do we do? What's the company do? We do Milwaukee. Milwaukee is the largest power tool brand now in the world, the fastest growing brand, most popular professional brand, and most importantly, it's the globe's leading cordless brand of industrial power tools. And the problem with this slide is it's in 3 years, I'm going to have to make it twice the size, because we have literally 1,000 new products on the way. We also are the global leader in DIY power tools, especially cordless, with our Ryobi brand. And we are the global leader in the transformation from gas or petrol outdoor power equipment like lawnmowers, chainsaws, string trimmers, hedge trimmers, blower vacs that are noisy and pollute. And we are the Tesla of our industry. We are moving people from gas to battery powered. We have over 20 different battery powered lawnmowers right now in the market. We're taking share, and really we're convincing people it's time to turn off the gas products, which make noise, pollute. It's inherently dangerous with the fuel you have to burn. You need maintenance, and we're moving people like Tesla to battery powered products. So we've achieved this success not by accident. When we started this journey, we were maybe number 6 in the world in market share, and we were viewed. There was nobody afraid when we walked in the room. No, there was nobody trepidatious about competing with us. They just viewed us as, with an asterisk, like we also participate in the market. And so we've turned that into a position. We are the dominant factor in the industry. We're growing much faster than any competitor, and we're just getting started. How have we done it? To me, the most important thing we've done is hire the right kind of people and create the right culture. And breakthrough leadership is the overarching theme of our culture. And we call it leadership because even our entry-level college grads that walk into a Home Depot store to sell power tools, they still have to exhibit our style of leadership, which is the essence of our success. So let me talk a little bit about this leadership program. We believe strongly in breakthroughs versus incrementalism. What's incrementalism? Okay, so incrementalism means last year I was 9-9 in my dual meet record, and so I set a goal. God damn it! This year I'm going to be 14-6. I am going to improve a lot, and that's incremental thinking. That means if you work a little harder on the stuff you're doing already, you can improve your record. But we like breakthroughs. So if you're 8-8 last year, you decide I'm going to devote the next 12 months to getting on a podium at nationals. And I'm going to go from 8-8. I'm going to be 25-0, and maybe somebody picks me off in the finals, but I'm going to radically change my career trajectory in wrestling. That's a breakthrough. So when I work with a team and I look at a budget, and team says we did $1 billion last year, and so Joe, this year we want to do $1 billion and 25 million. We want to go 2.5%. I mean, I'd say, it's not even, why get out of bed in the morning for that? It's not even worth it. Why even bother? Just call it in. We challenge our Milwaukee business is challenged to grow 20% a year, no matter what the economy is, no matter what tariffs there are, how many viruses we have to deal with. The goal is 20% a year. So the first time you give a team a goal like that, what happens is they say, oh my God, 20%. If we grow 20%, we have to change everything. We'll have to build more factories. We'll need more engineers. We're going to need to come up with more exciting products. And that's when I say, exactly. Now you understand breakthrough thinking. I love this quote. Machiavelli always said, fortune favors the bold. Fortune does not favor the timid or the trepidatious. Fortune favors the bold. Bold means I'm going to go out and attack a guy and take him down and pin him and end the match in 15 seconds the way Kyle Dake does. That's bold. That's a lot of swagger, man. And in business, there's a disease. It's called under promise and over deliver. I'm going to tell Wall Street that next year my sales are going to go up 4%. Then I go 5%. And I'm heralded as a brilliant CEO, and the stock goes up. That's 1990s incrementalism thinking, and I hate it. So we are bold and audacious. Internally, our internal plans would terrify our competitors. They wouldn't even know how to fathom the kind of things we assume we're going to achieve. And so again, to me, bold is a powerful cultural requirement in our company. There's something that we teach called impact versus activity. This is an element of our culture and our leadership. And what this means is, if you can't look back after the last 6 months and identify the 1 or 2 high impact achievements that you've made, then you're working on the wrong stuff. We don't care how many hours somebody works. We don't clock watch. We don't care how many reports you write, how many meetings you go to. All that matters is what did you get done? What are you proud of? 1 or 2 things that you're most proud of. So, if I'm a wrestler, I look back over the last 6 months. Does anybody care how many miles I ran, how many pull-ups I did, how many hours a day I was in the room? Or did I take a weakness like I can't get off the bottom, and did I find a way and just practice the thousands of reps needed to figure out how to get off the damn bottom? That's high impact thinking. If I'm going to change a program from 27th to top 5, it's not going to be one recruit's not going to do it. I've got to, instead of getting 1 or 2 great kids a year and 9 other kids that are wonderful training partners, I got to get 4 or 5 hammers if I expect. And that's impact. That's impact versus activity. We are obsessed with eliminating non-value added activity. Non-value activity meetings that should be 15 minutes. They go for an hour. That's absurd. I bet you 3/4 of the meetings that companies go through are a waste of time. You don't even need them. 80% of all the reports companies waste time producing, nobody even really looks at. But inertia means these meetings keep going. And it's the obsession has to be for us, eliminate non-value add activity and focus like obsessively, like maniacally on high impact successes, results, improvements. When one of the one of the most powerful things that we've been able to do in our company is triage. And you know, there's an old saying: if you have more than 3 priorities, you have none. And too many companies have lists of 25 things they're going to do. And you know, just think about it. You know, if you haven't memorized, if you work for a company and you can't rattle off what the priorities are, then the company's leadership is negligent. You have to focus a company. And for us, it's all about hiring great people, developing great products, and delivering those products on time and 100% service level to our customers. That's our 3 priorities. Now, there's thousands of tactics and subsets in those priorities to make them happen. But in the end, you know, that's what we're all about. You know, I love this old Bruce Lee quote. I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 different kicks. I fear the man who practices one kick 10,000 times, right? So, you know, I never was able to place at nationals, but I did finally win the ACC my senior year. And, you know, I had really one move, was an outside cradle. And, you know, when I figured out that that was the way I was going to win, I stopped worrying about doing all these girlfriend moves and all these practicing all these fancy moves 5 times per practice. And I practiced the cradle 200 times a night. And, you know, when I remember wrestling a lot of really good people, and their coach would say, "Watch the cradle." And that was, for me, that was perfect, because when you wrestle like that, where you're trying to stay out of a guy's move, you get, you know, it's even easier to do it to the guy. And, you know, I like the Bruce Lee theme in companies too, because if we're really, really good at a couple things, that's a lot better than being decent at a lot of things. And so anyhow, it's a helpful perspective for our culture. What is leadership? The essence of leadership is, to us, it's persuading others to take actions that you want them to take. So if I'm a CEO, I have to be able to motivate, inspire people, and get them fired up about developing even better products than we have today, even when the odds are impossibly against you. You know, when we had the virus, we couldn't travel. You know, how and we couldn't go to the office. How are we going to develop new products? So we had to convince our system that it's okay. Don't worry. Our competitors can't go to the office either. The issue is not we're dealing with the virus. The issue is, how are we going to outfox, outmanage, outwork, outhustle, outthink our competitors? And this is a process where we had to take a lot of people that were you know, stunned by the suddenness and the severity of the pandemic, and we had to turn that into an opportunity for us to pounce on our competitors' travails and trepidation, and to develop a plan of attack that will allow us to win. And so we actually, believe it or not, we got faster at developing new products through the pandemic than we were before the pandemic. We learned how to tune Zoom. The first time somebody showed me Zoom, I said, "Are you out of your mind? I'm not doing this. I'm not giving presentations on the TV. Are you nuts? I want to see people. I want to fly around." Well, when they take that away from you, you figure it out. And so I went from being a reluctant participant on Zooms, and, you know, we decided we are going to master the Zoom technology. We're going to find a way, whether my team is in Stuttgart, or Singapore, or Ho Chi Minh City, or you know, Hong Kong. We're going to find a way to take this global company and run it through Zoom, so that we not only do we not lose ground, we are going to lap our competitors. Our largest competitor, Stanley Black & Decker, literally announced at the beginning of the virus they were going to cut $1 billion. Well, no, they cut $1 billion worth of their overhead out. They fired engineers, salespeople all over the world. They furloughed 1,000 salespeople in the U.S. alone. Furlough means, you know, we're not going to pay you anymore. You stay home, but maybe we'll call you at the end of the pandemic and let you have your job back. That's what furlough means. You want to insult somebody, and, you know, just furlough them. It's the worst thing for culture you can do. So we not only didn't furlough anybody, we hired an extra 1,500 people in the height of the virus. And we had our pick. Nobody was hiring. So we hired the best people from the best campuses, engineers, sales, marketing types, finance people. It was unreal. So anyhow, we learned how to turn the virus into an advantage. And that starts with leadership and persuading people, you know, get out of the fetal position, get out of the freaking closet, and let's step up and find a way to win, no matter what the circumstance. And this is what happened last year. So one of the dangers of one of the things I noticed with new leaders, so you promote somebody who's really good, she's really smart, track record of success is incredible. But a lot of times people don't realize that when you become in charge, you don't just get promoted and be a leader and everybody follows you. You have to earn the right to be a leader. Not Machiavelli said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." And what we say is, we want leaders, not cheerleaders. What's a cheerleader? A cheerleader is somebody in business where, I know, Ralph, you missed your numbers. You're supposed to do 100 million, you did 90 million, but I know you worked hard and the economy's bad. And there was a storm in northern Idaho that hurt your lawnmower sales. I understand that, but don't worry. That doesn't work. If somebody doesn't make their numbers, there are no excuses. You missed your number. If you lose the wrestling match, you lost. It's not the referee's fault. It's not the enemy crowd. It's not that you slipped because the part of the mat was sweaty. You lost the match. And so, yeah, I love you. And yeah, you're an important part of the team. But, the idea around here is to win, not to develop the skill to be a good loser. And too many leaders are cheerleaders, and they think that telling everybody how great they are and how wonderful they are is actually helpful. And it's not. You lose all credibility, because when you compliment someone, the compliment is meaningless unless they know you're also willing to hold them accountable. Meaningless. And this is a classic rookie mistake. I would say for business executives and for coaches, I would say one of the issues when you first are in charge is you want everybody to love you, and that's a mistake. People will actually respect you and love you more if they know you hold them accountable and you make them better. And if the ones that don't shouldn't be on your team or in your company anyhow, they're the wrong people. One of the things that we teach our leaders, and a big gap in leadership style is listening. So the great leaders, when you're first in charge, I like the leader to say to his people, her people, if you had my job, what would you do? Usually you take over, whether it's a team or a company or whatever, or a business unit. Usually the answers to what's needed to be done to win, to improve, are with your team. It's just that you have to have the humility to be willing to ask people, what do you think we should do? How can we get better? We were 26 at nationals last year. Mike, what do you think we need to do to be top 5 or to win it? And usually the answer will be with the people you have. If it's not, you have the wrong people. And so you have to make that change. But I found I've got the best ideas from people who work for me. Now, sometimes some people are bold and willing to tell me. Sometimes they want to be politically correct. So, if I screw up, it's hard for some people to say, Joe, you just really screwed that up. So I've learned, and I've worked on this to try to draw it out of my people. What can I do better? How can we do better? We just had a disappointing performance in this country in this quarter. What do you think we could do? How can I help you improve it? So great leaders have the humility to be able to listen, to ask for input. A lot of times if you're newly in charge, you walk in the room and you say, I'm here now, I'm in charge, and here's what we're going to do. And the problem is if what you're going to do is wrong and there's different opinions in the room, the people that you're talking to, they'll just clam up. They know what you're saying is wrong, but once you declare your opinion, unless they're really bold and they have swagger, they're just going to clam up and let you make the mistake. So I like the idea of asking people what we should do before I tell them what we're going to do. And usually I change my mind about what we're going to do after I listen to people tell me what we should do. Not always, but usually. And I think it's a great model in our company. I love conflict. I love it. Now, my wife hates it. Many people who work for me would prefer not to have conflict. But why do I love conflict? Because I'm a curmudgeon? No, because conflict is the only way you can bring out the real truth. You can take 6 months to figure out the 2 guys on your team hate each other's guts. And the one guy took the other one's girlfriend, and oh my goodness, they're backstabbing each other, and there's this insidious problem in the locker room. In a company, you have 2 business units that aren't working together, and they hide it well, especially with the boss. But there's this insidious underlying issue where the people aren't working together. And so, when I try to teach our leaders to detect these issues and just handle things directly, people will appreciate if you're direct versus passive aggressive. And so, I drive conflict every day. When I detect something's not exactly right, or people aren't saying the truth, or that people aren't working together, then I just go right into it. Mildred, why can't you and Ralph work together? I don't understand this. What do I do? What kind of environment have I created here that has kept you two from being able to work together? And if you keep driving conflict, you'd be amazed at how fast you solve a problem, as opposed to living with it. And too many leaders, they don't. First of all, they don't even know they have a conflict in their the group they're leading. They don't acknowledge it, or they just don't want to deal with it. I mean, conflict's hard. If you want everybody to love you all the time, conflict is not something you're going to pursue. In fact, you just want it to go away. So anyhow, leaders manage conflict. One of the hallmarks of the culture of our company is the whole notion of creating energy. So I want you to think about this, and many of you have heard me say this before. There's two kind of people. There's people who create energy and people who destroy energy. And I'm not talking about being a cheerleader here. I'm talking about you create energy and destroy energy. So when you walk in a room and you talk to another person, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people in a public presentation, there's one of two things that happens as a result of your communication, your presence with that group. You're either going to leave that group feeling more energized as a result of your leadership, your communication, or you're going to make them feel less energized. And it's binary, it's black and white. It's either one or the other. You walk out of the room, either people have more energy or less. Now, when I'm at my best, I'm creating energy, and I specialize in it. And when I'm grouchy or tired or jet lag, sometimes I leave a group behind de-energized, and it's terrible. And when you're a leader, you have the burden of leadership is, you got to create energy. And you should all think about your own style, whether you're a coach, a wrestler, or a trainer, whatever. When you leave a group behind, do they feel, as a result of your time with them, more fired up, more inspired, and more energized, or are they, geez, I'm so glad he's out of the room now. Let's go back and do something good. So it's a great coaches, great CEOs, great leaders create energy. Great wrestlers in a locker room rally the team when the coach is not around and create energy. And the thing about leaders that create energy is they create what we call catalysts, who also create energy. And there's a catalytic effect. You can catalyze, if a leader catalyzes 3 people, they catalyze 3 people. All of a sudden, everybody in your organization feels that sense of energy, right? Now, some of us show it differently than others. I'm a passionate Italian. I'm very expressive. Many other people more reserved and understated. The style here is meaningless. I've seen leaders that have the antithesis of my style that are powerful energizers and motivators. So I'm not talking about style here. I'm talking about you leave people behind feeling more inspired, more energized, or do you make them feel less inspired, less energized? And you should think about it. Think about how you are. Think about coaches or people you've been around that fire you up versus the ones where you can't wait for the discussion to end. Very, very important thing. Okay, so culture is what happens when the boss is not around. So culture in a wrestling team is what happens when the coach is not around. The great teams practice just as hard when the coach is not there than when the coach is standing there with the whistle. And a team with poor culture, if the coach is out of town, when the cat's away, the mice play. The same as business, man. It's, everybody can be at their best when the boss is right in front of them. But what happens when the leader is not there? That's where culture it makes you a success. And I'm more proud of the culture we've created in TTI Milwaukee than anything, because you can visit any of our people anywhere in the world, and generally you will see this revved up, fired up culture. People understand the strategy. They want to win. Look, I believe in self-selection. We are a high velocity, rapid fire company that's on the attack 24/7. We're global. We want to dominate. We want to win. We want to break our opponents. We don't want to win 3-2. We want to break our opponents. We want to destroy their will to fight. That's the culture that we try to propagate throughout the company. That's a lot different than people just showing up to make a salary, or people just looking at their job and just trying to get by. The just enough people. We call them just enough people. And in a wrestling room, you have the kind of people who if the coach is there or not, doesn't matter. They're gonna do what they have to win. And then you have the people that just get by, and and they do just enough to survive. And I like self-selection because when we bring people into our company, and some people are either energized and they can't believe how exciting it is to be in this culture. We work hard, believe me, we work ourselves like crazy. But other people say, "Oh my God, I can't keep up with this pace. I'm out of breath. I'm bewildered, overwhelmed by this." And so people will leave. We have to. We have 50,000 people in the company. We fire very few people. We terminate very few people because people leave on their own. It's interesting. Self-selection is a powerful thing. And I think in the great wrestling rooms, the people that were big shot, highly ranked recruits that come into a room and realize what it really takes. You go in that Iowa room, or that Penn State room, Oklahoma State room. I mean, it's a whole different thing to say in high school, I'm going to do it, and then to go into these rooms and realize what it takes to win. And so a lot of people don't make it. Wrestling is the wrestling community is littered with highly ranked kids from junior high that win Fargo and end up not doing much at the NCAA level. And it's so I like the idea of self-selection. I like if you bring people in and they're not the right people, they make the decision on their own. Leaders are responsible at the end of the day for creating an overarching culture in the organizations that they lead. And that culture can be powerfully good and motivating, or, there are leaders, certainly in business, and I bet there are coaches that create a culture that's destructively bad. There's a lot of bad habits leaders can have. Leaders can pick favorites, which is demoralizing for the non-favorites. Leaders can have an utter lack of empathy, which means, the kids on a team, if you're in a wrestling world, they feel like the coach really doesn't care about them. The day they graduate is the last day they hear from the coach. I was incredibly fortunate because I wrestled for the great Bill Lamb, and I'm closer to Coach Lamb now than I was when I was in the room in the 70s. It's an extraordinary relationship, but that's because the culture he built. It was, I knew even when he blasted me for losing, and believe me, if I lost, it was an unpleasant discussion afterward. But even after getting blasted, I knew he cared. I knew in his heart he wanted the best for me, and he still does. It's an amazing thing, and kids sense that. You can't fake. Authenticity is something you can't fake. The great leaders, I'll bet you the great coaches, I bet the great politicians or rulers of countries, I bet they create a culture where people want to win. They love the environment, as opposed to hoping that the guy retires, resigns, or gets because the culture is bad. We have a metaphor in a company. An acronym in a company called RTB. Raise the bar. Raise the bar. It's a simple acronym. It's a simple theme, but it's all about the pursuit of greatness. So I was fortunate enough to spend some time with Kyle Dake a couple months ago, and I love my time with Kyle because it reminds me what it takes to be great. It reminds me what it takes to pursue greatness as an obsession, not as a episodic thing, but as a way of life. And so I'm sitting with Kyle, and he just had an incredible Olympic trials experience. And I can watch some of the matches over and over again because some of them are like 15 seconds. And I said to Kyle, man, you are really at the top of your game. And he said, Joe, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait, the next time you see me wrestle, I am going to improve on my weaknesses. I'm going to be a lot better. And I'm thinking, what? This guy might be the best wrestler on the planet, and he's telling me about weaknesses? What weaknesses? And he rattles off 3 or 4 things, and he assured me he was going to work on them and fix it. To me, that's raise the bar. So, when we have a meeting, when we have a customer event, and we at the end of it, or we have an investor session, at the end of it, we like to get together and say, okay, how did we do? What did we do well? And what can we do better next time? And I can remember people saying, Joe, what? I don't understand you. We just had the most incredible investor conference. Our stock's up 40%. Every investor gave us a standing ovation after the presentation. And you want to know what we could do better. When are you going to be satisfied? I mean, will you ever be happy? You know what my answer is? No. My job is to not say, okay, now we've achieved the goal and we're great. Bullshit. My job is to say, we just did an amazing job. But let's be Kyle Dake. Let's sit down. Here's the greatest wrestler in the world that's rattling off all his weaknesses. I mean, talk about raise the bar. And I love the culture of having people, no matter how great they're performing. And believe me, our company, thank goodness, is littered with outstanding performers that consistently deliver exceptional performance in good times and bad without excuses. But those are exactly the kind of people that always want to get better. The incrementalists, the people that want to get a little better every year, they don't want to even discuss this raise the bar. Oh my God, I don't want to change. You kidding me? It's too much work, and I like what I'm doing now. It's comfortable. I can golf on the weekends. I can hit my buddies, and I can go to Myrtle Beach and spend 5-6 days on the links, or we can go to Vegas, have some fun. Our people in this company have demonstrated this RTB mindset, and we want to be great. We want to build the best company that's ever existed. We want to create a great company. We want our competitors to fear the thought of competing with us. We want to break their will to fight so that they go work on something else. Let Stanley Black & Decker work on toilet paper or wipes. We want to convince them that it's not worth trying to compete with us in power tools. And that's what the pursuit of greatness is all about. One of the most awesome quotes in history is what JFK said at his inauguration: "To whom much is given, much is required." And so if you're given a scholarship, that doesn't mean, hey, I made it, I got my ticket punched, now I get to go to college, I got a scholarship, and I'm in school now, and yeah, I'll be on a wrestling team, but man, that's the wrong way to think about it, man. If somebody thinks enough of you to give you a scholarship, then that's a pact you've signed with that coach. That coach has laid his reputation on the line for you. And the idea is to make him look brilliant by giving you that scholarship versus the other 10 kids he could have given the money to. And if you're a coach and you get, whether you're a brand new coach, you've been in the job for 10 years, you're given a massive responsibility to lead, and to whom much is given, much is required. Getting a coaching job is not the end result. It's not the achievement of a goal. It's the opportunity to show how good you can really be. So I want to make the athletic director who made me this head coach, I want to make him look so good that he'll get promoted. He'll get the big bonus because I now that I've got the job I dreamed of, I'm going to turn this job into a massive success. So anyhow, too much is given and much is required. So this is a checklist that we have for leaders. It's a long list. I hate the slide because there's too many things on it, but just look at this checklist. It's a good thing to write down and ask yourself, can you check the box in next to each one of these? So leaders, what do they need to do? They need to persuade, they need to motivate, they need to inspire, they need to challenge, they need to hold people accountable, they need to recognize and reward success, but not when it's not earned. The worst thing you can do is recognize people when they do a bad job. That's the worst thing you can do. You lose all your credibility. Leaders are mentors. Leaders, and this is hard because mentoring people requires situational leadership, right? Because we all need different kinds of leadership to allow us to achieve our potential. In fact, one of the things that we teach is that everybody you lead has a different range of potential. Let's face it, if you're a wrestling coach, some kids are lightning quick. Some kids have a gas tank that doesn't end. Some kids have uncanny balance. Some kids are super flexible. Some kids just are really willing to work hard and ignore the pain. But these kids all need to be mentored and groomed and developed and coached and led in different ways. That's situational leadership. If you try to mentor every kid the same on your team, it won't work because they're all different, right? And it's easy. It's a shortcut. If I try to mentor all the people who work for me the same way, it would save me a lot of time. Believe me, it would save me a lot of time. But what I've learned over the years is I need to get a lot of feedback about the people who I'm fortunate enough to manage and lead, and I need to make sure that I understand what they're good at, where they need to improve, and I need to talk to them in a way that motivates them. Some people, you can hit them hard, say, damn it, how could you possibly screw this up? Are you out of your mind? And for some people, they rise up and say, I'll never let him down again. Other people, I have to say, I know you're better than that. I am certain you have so much more potential than what we're seeing here. How can I help you deliver that potential? Remember, everybody has a range of potential. Great leaders get people to perform at the high end of their range. Great teams find ways to take kids that are maybe not recruited as number ones, or don't have the God-given ability and the talent. And the great coaches find a way to get these kids to perform at their highest level. I watched Coach Lamb do that with UNC. You know, the great Dan Gable did that for years. You know, the great coach takes people that were great, good, or average in high school and gets the most out of them. It's a tremendous skill. And believe me, in business, it's just as important as wrestling. Okay, leaders are communicators, no question. And if you think that presentation skills are for somebody else, you're gravely mistaken. You are perceived as a leader the way you present. If you want to get respect as a leader, you better learn how to get on your feet and share your message in a compelling, persuasive way. And it's not about style. My style is different than everybody else's style. We all have our own personality that we have to incorporate into our presentation style. But if you can't communicate, you cannot lead. You just can't do it. And when I hear, well, Joe, she's shy, that's why she's a lousy presenter. That's nonsense. You have to, if you want to lead, you have to learn how to lead, which means you have to learn how to communicate. And then the last thing, which I mentioned earlier, is the great leader has the humility to listen. And this has been hard for me over my career. You know, there have been times when I walked in the room and said, I'm here now. I must be the smartest person in the room because I'm in charge, right? Even though there's 5 people in the room that have far more vast knowledge about an area that I'm leading than I do. But it's a common mistake. If you're in charge, you think you're the smartest girl, smartest guy in the room, and that's just a bad leadership style. So look, I think that leading, I think the pursuit of greatness, the whole leadership idea is a race without a finish line. You know, when you get promoted in a company and you think, I'm promoted, I'm here, I'm a president, I'm running Europe now. Man, my mom's going to be proud. This is fantastic. You know, that's true. You should celebrate the successes, but then you have to realize that you got to keep getting better. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse in business. If a company is not getting better, it gets worse. If a wrestler's not getting better, he's getting worse. I don't think you could stay the same. And life's too short not to get better. Go for it, man. A race without finish line is a great metaphor for life, for wrestling, for business, for whatever field you want to pursue. Okay, so let me, before I open up for any Q&A, I just want to share a story that we share with our teams when we go through these intensive leadership sessions. And by the way, I'm giving you a truncated version of what we do. We spend 3 days with intense. Our breakthrough leadership program is not a it's a way of life. It's 3 days of intense sessions, one after another. Every subject that matters, every balance sheet subject, manufacturing, purchasing, R&D, sales, geographic expansion, tariff management, recruiting, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of it, I love to share this story. And this goes all the way back to medieval times. And this story is about a traveler. So this traveler is traveling through mid-century medieval Europe, and he encounters 3 stonecutters in this big, vast field. 3 stonecutters. So it says three workers are hammering away with a hammer and chisel on a piece of stone. So the traveler goes up to the first stonecutter, says, "Sir, excuse me, can you tell me that what it is that you're doing?" And the guy's pound away says, I'm chiseling away at this stone. So the traveler says, okay. So the traveler goes on to the second stonecutter, and the second stonecutter is doing the same thing. And the traveler says, "Sir, can you tell me what it is you're doing?" And the second traveler looks up at the guy still hammering and says, "I'm shaping a cornerstone." So the traveler says, "Okay, that's interesting." So the traveler says, "I'm going to try this one more time." So he goes up to the third stonecutter and he says, "Sir, excuse me, can you tell me what it is that you're doing?" So the third stonecutter lays down his chisel and his hammer, stands up, looks at the traveler in the eye and says, "I am building a cathedral. I am building a cathedral." So think of the difference. There's 3 people doing the same thing. We look for in our company cathedral builders. Yes, is it a lot of work to go to Home Depot at 6 p.m. on a Friday night and stack shelves when your friends are all out already in happy hour? Is that a lot of work? You're damn right. It's brutal. And if you think that what you're doing at that moment is putting drill bits on a hook in a Home Depot, You don't get it, man. What you're doing is you're building a cathedral. You're a part of a team of obsessed winners that are trying to build a great company and to destroy our competitors and to win and win big year after year in perpetuity. That's what you're doing. That's the cathedral we're trying to build. And I think in wrestling it applies like crazy, man. I think a team that is a bunch of cathedral builders goes from 37th at nationals to top 5. And I think the teams that don't stay 37 for every year, it's the same thing. So anyhow, so I hope this gave you some perspective. I know I'm strident in my views. I know one of my benefits is that I'm older than I want to admit, and I've made every mistake you can make in business. I made a lot of them wrestling too, believe me. I lost in the semifinals of ACCs 3 years in a row. And you try to lose in the semifinals of ACCs 3 years in a row with Coach Lamb as your coach. Let me tell you, no wonder I won it my senior year. I couldn't go through that anymore, that post-match discussion. And I made a lot of mistakes in wrestling. I trained wrong. I had the wrong nutrition. My sleep patterns were lousy. And I finally figured it out my senior year. And in business, look, I've made every mistake you can make, man. So the benefit of that is once I really learned that it's okay for me to admit that I made mistakes instead of thinking I had to always be perfect. Once I started admitting I made these mistakes, then I started getting good because I had the benefit of referring back to something I screwed up, and I could help somebody who was about the same or that already made that same mistake. And it helped me a lot. And today, the way I manage my team, I know my team so well. I know the mistakes they're going to make before they make them. And I can help share my own versions of those mistakes, and we end up building a better bond and figuring it all out. So anyhow, is it do you all want to open it up for questions, or do you have any questions or anything else I can add?
Joe, I thought that was awesome. And you were the perfect way to start up this great coaches clinic with bringing the energy. You should just see the chat box just blowing up with how much everyone loves this. What I'd like you to hit on is you hit on a very important point that we speak about. Goal setting is critical, having the concrete goals, but that your purpose is more important than your goal. Building the cathedral for God was even more important for that third worker than even making the money. So, and you brought this up in the beginning, talk about how the purpose is more important than the goal. You spoke about in the beginning, not just annihilating the competition, but more environmentally friendly product, helping people do it themselves at home, making other people's lives better. That to me sounds more like the purpose than even the goal. And that's what it seems like makes Milwaukee so great. Yeah, there's never a right way to do the wrong thing. And there's never a wrong way to do the right thing. And what I found over the years is if you are always trying to do the right thing for your people, for your company, for society, you're going to win. In business, and long before today, there's this fancy acronym ESG. It means we have to worry about sustainability, inclusion in the environment, and we should be worried about it. But it shouldn't take headlines in the Wall Street Journal to get leaders to think about this. I think one of the breakthroughs for me as a leader is recognizing, we can win and we can do the right thing. If we could convert the planet from gas lawnmowers to cordless, if we could convert the planet from gas noisy nightmare blowers that every morning you want to kill your neighbor because she wakes you up at 8 a.m. because of that stupid blower that makes more noise than a 747 in your garage. And if we could eliminate noise pollution and emissions issues, not only are we going to be wildly successful and our stock's going to go crazy, but it's the right thing for society. And guess what? When you have the right purpose like that, people want to work for you. Our recruiting on campuses, 15 years ago, when we tried to recruit somebody, say, why don't you come to work for Milwaukee TTI? They said, is that a beer? Milwaukee, is that a beer? Only way I'd work for you if I don't get any of these other job offers. And so we started in a humble place. But we did have some very visionary people that understood the vision back then. In fact, I will tell you that there's a wrestler from UNC named Bobby Shaw, who's one of our first campus recruits in the company. And believe me, we didn't hire him because he wrestled. We hired him because he's great. And a lot of wrestlers happen to be great and show potential. Today, Bobby's gone from sales rep to president of the entire Ryobi DIY business in North America. He's running a $2 billion company. This was a kid that was on the wrestling mat 18 years ago.
I think today we're getting a lot of Bobby Shaws because we are working on the right things. When you have a product, okay, this is a I'll give you another great example that I love. This is a nailer. It's a cordless nailer. So historically, if you wanted to frame a house, you either swing a hammer and nail all day, which means carpal tunnel, and it takes forever, or you buy a pneumatic nailer. Stanley Bostitch is #1 in pneumatic nailers. And a pneumatic nailer has a hose that connects to a compressor, which makes more noise and drips more oil than a bad race car. And that compressor connects to a generator. That generator burns diesel or gas, so it can power the electricity to pump the air in a compressor to allow you to use a nailer. Can you imagine? So you go to a job site where they're framing the house, and it sounds like a 747 in your garage about to take off. So now you have this device, which is not unwieldy. It makes no noise compared to these other things. It's faster and more efficient. And so we're eradicating all these World War II technologies and allowing the professional worker to do his or her job in a way that's inherently more safe. Look, I have to say, though, the setting a goal matters a lot. The purpose is the purpose-driven culture is critical and essential, and we live it and breathe it. But if you don't have a destination you're in mind, and that it's a race without a finish line. Once you climb one mountain, there's another one to climb. You got to keep going. If Kyle Dake has weaknesses, we all do, and you've got to keep going, right? But I think fortune favors the bold. I think if you don't have the swagger and the courage and the willingness to set targets that are challenging, then I have a feeling the purpose is great, but you're not going to have the right results. Winston Churchill famously said, a lost cause is the only cause worth fighting for. When he led the free world against the Nazi Germany threat in Europe, everybody said, we got to surrender. Let's just give them Europe. And Churchill said, everybody said it's a lost cause. And he said, a lost cause is the only cause worth fighting for. Can you imagine Shane Griffin in the beginning of the year when he finds out Stanford cancels the wrestling program and he's not allowed to even practice? He has to go outside to practice, and he's OW in the Nationals. Lost cause. I don't even know. I can't imagine winning a match at Nationals in that scenario. So I love that example. So what else can I tell you?
They also wanted to know what weight class you wrestled at, and if you had a short wrestling story, one of your favorite wrestling stories.
Oh boy. Well, I wrestled 118, 126, 134, 142, and 150 and 158. So I actually wrestled 6 weights. I'm not sure many people have done that. Coach Lamb recruited me as an 18-pounder. I won this thing called Dapper Dan, and at 98 pounds as a senior. And so he thought I'd be an 18-pounder, and I was an 18-pounder. I was a good one for one tournament. I won the tournament, and then I weighed 154 pounds the next day. So I had to go up. So, my junior and senior year, I wrestled my arch rival at NC State. I won't name him, but he ended up being 3rd in the country. He was a terrific wrestler from Pennsylvania, #1 recruit in the United States. And UNC, NC State is a fabulous rivalry. And I love wrestling at Reynolds and having all the NC State people boo us viciously. I thought it was great. But anyhow, I wrestled this guy the first time I wrestled him. And, these reporters would always do predictions on who's going to win the match. And this guy was predicted to beat me by a superior decision. And I pinned him in the first period in the cradle. He got up and he told a reporter, I was robbed. The referee made a mistake, even though it was crystal clear he was pinned. So I wrestled him a second time in the Carolina Open. And once again, I pinned him in the first period. And he said, again, he's trying to blame the ref. So the third time, Coach Lamb, I'm in the ACC finals. I wasn't predicted to be in the finals. Anyhow, I made the ACC finals, and Coach Lamb said, look, I got some bad news. 2 of our best guys lost in the semis. If you don't win this match and pin this kid, we don't win the ACCs. And, we had just won the ACCs my junior year. So, we're starting to build this ACC dynasty under Coach Lamb, and he was brilliant. And so, I said, Coach, I don't feel any pressure here, right? I mean, so anyhow, I had to go out and pin the guy, and once again, the same guy, same cradle. Everybody in the gym said, "Watch the cradle," and that's exactly what I did. So, I'm very proud of that. You know, I wasn't the most talented wrestler. I might have been one of the hardest workers, and I was pretty smart. And so I was able to use that stuff to pull that off. I think a lot of people don't believe it. When I was in high school, I cut so much weight. You know, I wrestled 91 pounds my junior year in high school, 91. I learned how to cut weight, man. Don't ask me why. Back then, we used to cut a lot of weight, rubber suits and all that. My senior year, I wrestled, like I said, 105. I dropped to 98 to wrestle in the classic. But, you know, I'll tell you, but if people say what I learned from wrestling, and a lot of people say I learned how to work hard in wrestling. And, you know, for me, I learned how hard I could work. You know, you cut that much, you know, I always was a hard worker, but I never really knew how hard I could push myself. And so wrestling taught me how hard I can really work. And there's always a next level. There's always a next threshold that you can take it to. And I'm grateful in wrestling. You know, in business, there's a lot of stress, man. You know, 50,000 people I worry about. I worry about the you know, Chinese issues. I worry about our competitors. I worry about the cost of copper. I worry about tariffs. I worry about all that stuff. But when people say, how come you so calm? You don't worry about this. Let me tell you what I worry about. In my senior year, when I made the nationals, you know, I walked out on the mat in front of 14,000 people, and my first opponent was a guy named Leroy Smith. And, you know, that was, you know, you want to worry, look at Leroy Smith, who it never gets taken down ever. And you know, I was worried there. I was terrified. Walking into a boardroom, are you kidding me? That's kid stuff compared to wrestling. So, you know, I am. Anyhow, that was, by the way, that was not a funny story. Leroy beat me 16-2. He cut me twice. So that wasn't then, you know, the searing pain you get from that never goes away. Although I love Leroy and his brother John. But anyhow, yeah, that was a good lesson for me. What else can I tell you?
Joe, that was awesome. And that's why you are who you are, all the great experiences you've had. And like you said, looking at failure as part of the process, having a purpose, and really looking not just to win, but to dominate. And it's all geared towards that purpose. So I thank you so much for this. This was great. Our people love this. The chat box was absolutely blowing up of how much loves Joe Galli. So we want everyone to get over to Home Depot, get your Milwaukee tools.
Yeah, we appreciate the support. We want to have all the business, not some of it. So we appreciate the support.
That's it. Everyone quit messing around. Get over there after the coaches can get your tools. They are the best in the business. Joe, thank you very much.
All the best, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And everyone, we want to let you know that Dan Gable is coming up in 3 minutes. We had the great Joe Galli kick off the presentation. Yeah. Gable's coming up right after.
Can you get me Dan Gable's autograph, please? This is one of my heroes. Will you please get me his autograph? That would be the greatest thing you could do for me.
We'll make that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. So everyone, again, this is awesome. As you see, just loaded with information, truckloads of information. We're going to be doing this for 2 days straight, 7 hours each day. The 2021 Wrestling Mindset Leadership Clinic, perhaps the greatest wrestling coaches convention that's ever happened in the history of the sport. Again, we're dedicating all of this to the great Matt Eveleth and Don Ernst, our teammate from the University of Pennsylvania, Matt Eveleth, our former coach, Don Ernst, both battling cancer. We ask you for their prayers, as well as the prayers for everyone in the wrestling community who's struggling spirit, mind, body, or emotions. We remind you that leaders are readers. You have to have a summer reading plan. And thankfully to all of our great speakers, we have a ton of great books. We have our Predator Mindset book, Wrestling Mindset, Winning Sports and Life. We got the great Lee Kemp's book. We have the Bannock Brothers book. We have the great Jim Miller. We have Carl Adams. And we have Chosen Suffering, Tom Ryan. You have a nice stack right there. That's your summer reading. You'll be good to go. So make sure you keep getting after it with your reading. So make sure you click the link right now. We'll jump right in there.